Hey everyone. So today we are going to discuss white balance in a little more detail and show you a bit about how to adjust that white balance on the camera, as well as in post-processing and maybe even when it comes time for prints to make sure things have an adequate color profile. And so that being said, I've got a white piece of printer paper here. And so when we talk about white balance, the first question is, what is white balance? And so hopefully this looks white. Well, wait a second. Let me adjust the white balance on this camera real quick. There you go. How's that look now? So you can see the difference there. And so the adjustment of white balance is making whites truly look white, okay? Taking away those odd color casts. The last thing you want is for those socks on your horse to actually look yellow. Or maybe you go take photos at a wedding and you don't want that wedding dress to look green or blue or have odd color cast on it. You want whites like this to truly appear white, okay? And there are a few ways to achieve that. And so white balance is very important, okay? And we're gonna talk about ways you can adjust the white balance on your camera, some custom settings you can do, some presets, and some things you can do in post-processing. And so with that, let me go grab my camera and we'll talk a bit about how to make some adjustments and look at that white balance. Okay, everyone, so we're looking at a few settings now on our Nikon camera here. I want to show you two main ways that you can adjust the white balance on this camera, and then we'll talk some presets and ways to customize that. And so the first of which, let's just point out that when we look at this display right here, you can see WB followed by an A. This stands for white balance in auto, okay? Over here, you can see the WB designation for white balance. And so if you press down this button right here, it then highlights our auto white balance. We can scroll through and choose to change that. And so now we'll scroll through. You can see incandescent, you can see fluorescent, this would be sunny, this would be flash, this would be cloudy, shade, this would be Kelvin if you want to set it in the degrees Kelvin that it is. Or we could do our true preset white balance, and we'll talk to you shortly about how to do that. If you don't want to scroll through it on the back dials, you can go in menu and the shooting menu, and let's show you what that might look like, okay? So if we start looking at the back of the camera, now we can then click on white balance, and you'll see it's on auto right now, okay? And so we could scroll through in the shooting menu, find that, and then you can easily go through and just select that incandescent, fluorescent, direct sunlight, flash, cloudy, shade, temperature Kelvin, as well as that preset manual, okay? Now, one thing to remember that I'll show you guys in post-processing here in a little bit is if you do shoot in RAW, you have the ability to go back and choose those same presets that you see right here in post-processing, okay? If you shoot your photos in JPEG, it is set with the white balance presetting just like this, for good, okay? Now we can still do a custom white balance in post-processing, but it is set with this. And I'll show you what that looks like in Lightroom. And so with that, let's go through and we'll just take a picture of the same subject in each of the different white balance settings, just so you can see the differences and what that might look like and how it is so important that you do have the correct white balance while you're shooting. Then we'll go through, show you how to do the custom preset on this, and then again a little bit of other options as well. And so here, let's take a few pictures. Okay, so now you can see what those various pictures look like with each of the different preset white balances and how, again, it varies with each one of those, and it is so imperative that your whites truly look white and you have the correct white balance. So let me show you now a few ways that you can do a preset white balance with your camera, okay? And so just like you saw previously, we can push down on the white balance button that you would see here. We can scroll through all the way to the end, or you could go the opposite direction until you see D1 pre, okay? This is going to allow us to do that preset. And so we let go, and then we're going to press this white balance button one more time and hold till it starts flashing, okay? Now that it's flashing, we're going to take a picture of something like our white piece of paper. One thing to note is as soon as you take that picture of that white piece of paper and it fills the entire frame, it will tell you good on the top of that screen, telling you it has a good preset. Now let's go back and take that same picture and see what it looks like. The other thing that you could do instead of using simply a piece of paper for that preset white balance like that is you could use something that we call an Expo Disk. Okay, this is basically something that's a bit translucent, allows some light to pass through, but is going to allow you to set that perfect white balance. Now the key with this is a 77 millimeter Expo Disk, fits on mine. It basically just snaps on. Okay, and so we could take this lens hood off just for a moment to be able to put this on, okay? And you would see that this is just going to sit on there like so, okay? And so this is sitting on there and it will snap in, but it's sitting on the front of our lens right here, okay? We could do the same thing where we hold down our white balance and you would see this flashing pre again, okay? We just simply now take a photo and then it is going to set the white balance. You can see it also says good, and so it is happy with that, okay? And so that's two ways to then set the white balance inside your camera settings, okay? What do you do if you want to do something else, okay? The other option that you would have is to shoot something that has a gray card in the photo and then change it completely in post-processing. Let me show you what that technique may look like. And so the other option that you have is to shoot a photo with a gray card like this in it and use this as the first image and then sync the white balance of this photo to every other photo in the sequence. And I like to do this quite a bit, okay? And so in my camera box that I carry this camera with as well as all my other lenses, I carry this gray card. And for the first shot in every photo, I have someone stand just like this and pull that custom white balance, okay? And so I'm gonna go hang this card on June, my dog, and we'll take a photo of it with her with this in the picture, and then we'll remove it. And I'll show you how to, in post-processing then, sync that to all of the other photos. And so let's go take a look on the computer now after you see these pictures, and I'll show you how to actually adjust that, okay? Okay, so hopefully you have a little bit better understanding of what white balance is. In that regard, in terms of having your whites truly white, no odd color cast, you know how to change it on the camera now, whether you take a picture of a white piece of paper, use something like an Expo Disk, or that gray card. And so with that, let me show you these pictures. I'm going to pull them off this camera right now. I'll show you these pictures on my setup here that we took of June with the gray card, and then how to sync them. I'll do that all from the computer. My hope, lastly, is to show you how to maybe adjust the color profile, make sure whites are truly white, reds are truly red, so on the computer screen, and then take that all the way to the final process of print, okay? Making sure that all the colors are truly staying the correct colors. And so let's look at it here on the computer. Okay, so I have you here and I've pulled in the photos off the camera. I just want to show you a few things in Lightroom, our post-processing program, as it's concerned with white balance. We're not going to go into any more detail other than that. And so I showed you those presets on the back of the Nikon camera. Now, I took the same photograph outside with those different presets, and I just want you to see the differences in how the whites actually look in the odd color cast as you scroll through those various white balance presets and how that might affect your photo. This should convey to you the importance of white balance and that it is set correctly. Now, I showed you beyond that how to set a preset white balance from the camera, either using a piece of paper or something like the Expo Disk. Then I also showed you the use of a gray card. I do like this method. I carry a gray card with me on most photo shoots, and again, the first photo I will take of someone before I shoot, I will have them hold up that gray card in the lighting that we're going to actually shoot in. And so I've got June being my guinea pig here, and so you can see her holding up this gray card in the photograph right here, okay? Now, a couple things to note. When this photo was taken, it was in a JPEG format. And so if you go over here and you note in Lightroom white balance right here, the WB, it is in as shot right now, okay? I only have the options of as shot, auto, or custom, okay? We will talk about custom here momentarily. Auto, let's see what happens. Changes it ever so slightly, okay? As shot, this is what it puts it at, okay? Now, if we were to take a photograph in a raw format, .nef, it is going to give you those same preset options that it previously did. Let me just show you that ever so quickly. And so if we take this and let me pull up a subset of photos, and we look at this photo right here, this is a photo that was taken in a raw format. You can see the file extension down here, .nef, okay? If you go up to white balance, let's go to our develop module. If you go to white balance, right now we have this set on fluorescent. We could go back to as shot. Camera didn't do too bad, but you can see all of those same settings that are in the camera are now also in Lightroom and post-processing program. And so if we set it on daylight, okay, let's see what happens. Looks very, very skewed with our colors, right? It is no longer correct. But with a raw file, because it is unprocessed, we can go back and change it after the fact, knowing that there's fluorescent lights in the ceiling. I can set it on that, and voila, it is a pretty accurate representation of whites being true white. You can look at the American flag, some people's shirts, etc. Okay, and so let's go back to the photos that we just took today and look at June and basically see what you guys think from there. Okay, and so let me pull those back up. We can find, there we go, 2020. Okay, so we've got those pulled up here. Here's June. Now we can do a custom white balance from our develop module. We can then take this color dropper and select our gray card, okay? It shows me that this would be the white balance that is correct right here based on that gray card. And so we could take and we could also select it from this photo, and you can see how it changes the colors in that photograph. Now, the key is, and what you can do in post-processing is what's really cool. We can then, now that this photo is selected, we can then also select all of these other photos that we want to sync that white balance to, okay? So I took a number of other photographs with June that I'll show you here momentarily. You can see that this one is a little bit brighter in the outline than, say, these other ones in the gray outline surrounding it when it's highlighted. And so that's telling you that this one is that first primary one selected. So let's go up to sync, okay? And I'm going to drag my window over here so that you guys can see this. The only element that we are going to sync in this is our white balance. And so that can be checked right here. We're going to synchronize all of these other photographs right here with this white balance based on that gray card. And so all we have to do is hit synchronize. Bam. Okay. And so we could hit Control D, deselect them all. And now if we go back to this photo, our white balance has taken. You can see the temp and the tint has changed. And if we look at all of our subsequent photos, it is carrying that same white balance from that first photograph to all of the others, okay? This one shot with a pretty shallow depth of field, okay? And so we can easily scroll through and see all of them synchronized to that first photograph. And so again, I think that's pretty cool to be able to do just based off a gray card. And so I don't care how you set the white balance. If you want to set it off a preset, great. Just know if it's a JPEG, you can't change it after the fact. Those socks on that horse that you're taking professional photos of are not white and they're yellow. You have to figure out how you can change it after the fact if you don't have a gray card or anything else, okay? That wedding dress isn't white, what are you going to do, okay? And so you can use the presets. I like the gray card. You could set it as the preset inside the camera. You could do the preset and then take a picture of the gray card, have a couple different options and backups, totally up to you, but now you have a handful of ways that you can then adjust white balance, okay? And so the last thing that I wanted to show you guys today was a program that will allow you to adjust the color profile on your computer, and then in addition to that, we can then set it for our print. And so let me take you over and just show you what that looks like. Okay, well, so the next thing I want to show you is how to adjust that color profile on your monitor, okay? You got to remember, if you're editing pictures in Lightroom and you're changing white balance, and you're doing custom settings, if you're not looking at a screen that is adjusted properly and whites are truly white and has the correct color profile, then again, you're completely skewed. And so I'm using a device called Color Monkey. This is Color Monkey Photo. And so what this is going to do, I'll show you this as it calibrates on the computer. But this has an optical eye in it that sits right here. This is kind of a weighted sandbag. It's going to lay over top of the monitor just like so. The monitor is going to flash up a series of different colors and it's going to calibrate it all to the correct profile. And so not only do I want to be sure I'm taking photos with the correct white balance, I want to be sure when I'm editing them that it is the correct white balance as well. And what I'm looking at, red is truly red, blue is truly blue, and so on. We will also then discuss and look at a color profile that's associated with the printer. And hopefully you talk about carrying this, or you think about carrying this all the way through that entire process as you're taking photos and then you're editing photos. And so let's take you into that program and show you what that looks like. Color Monkey photo program, and you can see just what I was talking about. And so the first thing we're going to do is really create a color profile for our display or our monitor to be sure that when I'm in Lightroom and I'm in a post-processing program, that the whites are truly white, the blues are truly blue, reds are truly red, and so on down the line. The colors that I'm looking at and the photo that I'm editing is a true representation of the colors that actually exist in the photograph. That's the first key step. You also see on here, which is also important, to profile your printer and have a good color profile with your printer. And so they also have on here, match my printer to my display. I think that is absolutely key. And so we've talked about adjusting the white balance on your camera and making sure you either do a custom white balance or a preset, but you have good accurate colors when you take that photo, or that you're adjusting them on your computer afterwards in post-processing, but you have to carry that all the way through to what you're looking at on the monitor as well as what's coming out in print to be sure everything is as accurate as possible. Okay, and so let's do this first one here. We're just going to profile our display, and so we're going to do this one just so that you guys can see it on this screen. It's an LCD. We'll keep it easy. And it's telling us we need to calibrate the device, so it's going to just ask for a little bit of a rotation on here. And so we're just going to allow that to turn. We're going to click calibrate. Okay. And so now it says it is calibrated. We can then turn this dial back to where it previously was. And now it says it's in the correct position. And so you can see it's connected, calibrated, correct position. We can go ahead and click next. Okay. Now where it says we're going to place the color monkey here. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place this color monkey over top of the monitor, and then I'm going to show you via another camera exactly where that is positioned and setting. Okay. And so we also got to make sure that the optical eye is open on the back of the Color Monkey device. Okay. And so we will just momentarily kind of show you this from a different angle so that you guys can see that Color Monkey device sitting on the monitor. Okay. And so now we'll go ahead and click next. It says for accurate results, please ensure your device is completely flat against the monitor. We can check it. There's no rock in it whatsoever. Sitting completely on there, we'll click OK. And so let's see what this does next. And so now it's going to start to display, as you can see, a series of different colors. You can see all variations of red going across right now. And the Color Monkey device is checking all of these colors against the calibration that it first did and making sure this red is truly red, as you see on the screen. And so it will create then a color profile for your screen to be sure it matches. Okay. And so you can see it going through all of the colors. We'll speed this up right here. Okay, so it's now done, and it tells you it's ready to build a new display profile. Click Save to begin your new profile for this monitor. And so we'll click Save here. And again, this .icm is a file extension for a color profile that you can use with any monitor. And so this is just an example. Again, it says your display may change capability over time in terms of the color. And it can be set to automatically remind you to reprofile things. I'm just going to uncheck this for the time being, click next, and then it's going to show you before and after comparison. And so let's just see. And so this is before, and this is after. Okay. Honestly, we don't see a whole heck of a lot of difference. So our profile was pretty good. I can see a slight change, but again, always good to be able to make sure the colors that you're looking at are truly what you're seeing on the screen. The next thing we could do would be to sync this color profile with our printer and be sure our printer has that correct match of colors. And so with that, I'll leave you here for the day. And hopefully you have a little bit better understanding of white balance, how to adjust it, like I said, on the camera, in post-processing a little bit, and make that monitor match the colors you're truly taking pictures of, as well as how you would go about changing your printer color profile so that your prints match that. Again, remember to carry that white balance, those true whites, those true colors, all the way through that entire line. And so with that, we'll see you next time.